Okay, and we're live. Hi, everyone. It's Lev Laner from Trotec Canada, and we have Anthony Gibson, also from Trotec Canada. So hello, everyone. In Canada, we have some viewers around the world, so welcome. This is first of many webinars we're going to be doing on Illustrator. We're going to do some on CorelDRAW as well. This is a very, very basics for for Illustrator for the laser. And we hope you guys ask lots of questions. And if there's anything that is too advanced or too complex, we might save it to a later webinar. And then this video will be posted on our YouTube channel after we're done the webinar, so you guys can rewatch it as many times as you need to. And you can also leave your questions in the description of the video once it's published. If you have any further questions that we can address, we'll address it either in the comment section of the video or in a later webinar. So, Anthony, if you want to say hi to everyone.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks, Lev, for introducing me there. Hopefully, we can help you out with your basic needs for your laser.
Perfect. So, Anthony, you're going to share your screen and we'll get going.
All right, let's jump right into it, not waste anybody's time. So we're going to start. We're going to be showing you how to use some basic tools to start using your laser with Illustrator. So first, we'll open up Illustrator and we'll create a new file. So just click on the Create the New File. And you can use the document presets that we have here. If you're going to choose any of these, I would suggest not choosing the print. Pretty much anything else will be fine for this, and the reason why is because they use an RGB palette for your coloring. The laser needs to read RGB colors in order to be able to register your lines. So just go in here and click on any of these preset documents, and we're going to change the parameters of it anyways. So you're going to want to select your material size here. I will do 24 by 12 on your advanced options, and it's very important that you make sure that you're using an RGB color mode, and we like to use 300 ppi here. Let's go ahead and create your first document. Now that your document is open here, we'll just show you some basic things that you need to know when starting with Illustrator. So on the left-hand side here, we have all of our tools that we'll be using. Up at the top, you have our control panel, and we have our document set up here if you need to change anything within your document or your material size or anything like that. So to start, let's actually, before we get into it, we'll see here you have your material right here, and you can move around within your material. There are tools to do so, but we'll show you some quick commands here. If you hold space, your pointer, you'll notice it turns into a hand, and now you're able to grab onto your artwork and move it around. So it's much easier to navigate through your artwork with this quick command. So again, that's hold space and click and drag. Move your artwork.
And guys, this is really good for if you're zooming in to your materials and you want to move around. I think that's what it's good for, right, Anthony?
Correct. Yeah. If you wanted to zoom in, just hold your Alt button and use your scroll wheel to scroll in and out, like so. So we won't get too into depth with the quick commands here. There are many of them. The more you know, the quicker you'll get your jobs done. But let's jump right into some of our tools here. So we'll start with the text tool here. Click on your text tool. And with the text tool, you could click anywhere on your working area here to start a new text. You can start typing whatever you'd like here. And now you have a font here. So when you're using your text, you could come up here and click on your character button here. And that'll allow you to fully customize your text, whether it be font, the size of the font, your spacing, pretty much anything you need to change will be available in this character button at the top here. So text is a great way to start with your laser. You could make personal gifts, promo items, ID tags, and much more. So with your text here, if you wanted to change the color, you would come up here and click on your color drop-down menu here. So color is very important when working with the lasers. We mentioned before that you want to use your RGB mode for your laser to register your lines. So we are in RGB color mode right now. However,
Anthony, sorry to interrupt. Can you show them why RGB is important? If you go to job control, for those who haven't used the laser, we have the 16 RGB colors in job control, and that's why it's very important to use job control. If you want to double click on so right there. So we almost always start with black and red and blue, but we can actually move the positions of the colors around as well. Anthony, I think you'll show them later how to do that.
Yeah, we'll get into it a little bit later when we start printing. If you guys see here, if you just hover over your colors in job control, it'll actually give you a value of your R's, G's, and B's. So if you're not too sure of what color you want to use, once you start getting into some of these different colors here, just hover over them and you'll see exactly what you have to type in for your color value. So I'll explain what we mean by your color value. Get back into Illustrator. We're going to change the color of this text. If this can't be done in your character drop-down menu here that we just showed you, so you want to go to your color drop-down box over here. Here you have all your colors, and you'll see for my color palette right now, it says when we hover over our color, you'll see an RGB red there. Illustrator is sometimes tricky, depending on if you're dragging in a file or starting a new file. Maybe you didn't select the right options for your document. This might show up as CMYK. So you're going to want to change your colors to RGB colors. To do that, we'll show you here. So for instance, if you never had any of these colors, let's delete these for you. We'll show you how to start your own color palette for your laser. So let's click on the bottom left-hand icon here and go to your default swatches and just click on Art and Illustration. We clicked on Art and Illustration because we know that default setting uses RGB colors. So you can see here in this color palette, every color here is going to be RGB. If you click on, we'll select pink here and hold Shift and click on the rest of the colors. We now have selected all the colors that you need for lasering.
We got a question.
Yeah.
How do you assign a color to a specific item? For example, if you're engraving 10 things, can you assign a color to each one so it'll engrave in a specific color?
For sure. So this is a great question. You'll see here, like we showed you in job control, you do have all your colors here. So every color can be assigned a different process. We'll get into this more a little bit later. So if you were to assign a different object a different color, so if your first object was red and your second object was blue, you can now select two different processes for those objects. Maybe you wanted to cut your red line, but engrave your blue line. So that's fully customizable within job control. And we'll show you how to do that in Illustrator now.
Yeah, and we actually did this sample on a kitchen cabinet on a piece of wood where we had 3 different colors of engraving, and each one had a different power setting. And it turned out really cool because one was a deep engraving and one was just grazing. So yeah, it's a really great tool to use.
Okay, so we'll get back in here. We have all of our RGB colors selected from our Art and Illustration default swatch. Next, with the color selected, we'll go to the top right corner of the drop-down box, click and add to our swatches. What that did was add these colors here to our color drop-down box up here. As you can see, they've been added here. So now if we click on new color group icon at the bottom of the drop-down box, You can name this RGB laser. Click OK. And now you have a new color mode here. If we click on the bottom left icon here and click Save Swatches, you can now save this as your RGB laser palette for future projects. Now you shouldn't have to worry about if Illustrator is changing colors on you or not. If you're using your newly made swatch file, you know in your mind that RGB colors will always be there for you. So let's switch this to a RGB black. So we could take our text right now, send this to job control by printing, and we will now engrave Trotec like you see it here. Anywhere that you see black, at least at Trotec here, we like to use black for engraving. So anywhere you see black, it will engrave onto your material. If your material is indeed 24 by 12 inches, like this, wherever you drop this text is where it'll be engraved onto your material. Now, I know there's a lot of questions being asked prior to this tutorial. One of the questions, a great question, was how can I make some stencils? A lot of people want to create stencils, maybe with text. So we'll show you how to do this within the text tool here. So if you click on your text and come down to your swap fill and stroke manager, there's a little swap icon here. And what that does is swap your fill with your stroke. So if you click on that button, you should now see that your fill has been replaced by a stroke. If you want the laser to cut out your letters here, there's a few things that you have to make sure of before sending it to the laser. The laser will have to assign a new color for the cut line. We like to use red at Trotec, so let's go to our color drop-down box and switch our stroke line to RGB red. Now this will give us the option, like we showed you in job control, to select cut instead of engrave for our red color.
And again, it doesn't have to be red. Whatever those 16 colors are, those are the colors that will assign either a cut or an engrave function. But we usually use black and red, but it doesn't matter.
Exactly. So we're not done yet. For the laser to recognize this as a cut line, we have to change the stroke weight. So if you come to your stroke weight option at the top here, while your text is selected, you'll want to change your stroke weight to 0.001. We did this so our laser can recognize it as a cut line. Any cut line that you want to be cut has to be a stroke weight of 0.001. Now you'll see here my text just disappeared. It is still there, but because the stroke line is so thin, it's very hard to see. So for the demonstration of this tutorial, we'll switch this back to 0.25 for you guys.
And guys, this is the thinnest line in Illustrator. If you're using Corel Draw, it'll be a hairline outline. So you just want to use the thinnest line for the cut.
Exactly. So now with this file, if you were to send this to job control, the laser would cut out your text here, creating a stencil for you to use. It is good to note that if you're going to be doing stencils with text, you'll want to use a different text font, most likely a stencil font. So the way to do that, if you are going to be cutting out text, is to double click on your text here, highlight your text, and you can switch your font here. If you just type in stencil, there should be a stencil font inside your library for you to use. And now you can see, once this is cut out, there won't be any inner geometries here that are going to be falling out on you when you send this to get cut on the laser. So next we'll move on to our...
Oh, sorry, Anthony. We had a couple of questions here. Somebody asked if, is there a way to make the line more visible? Well, I mean, you can make it a bit thicker like Anthony just did. But when you're sending it over to job control, you'll have to change it to hairline, sorry, to the 0.001.
Yeah, so a quick, so if you wanted to use Illustrator and maybe you have tons and tons of 0.001 stroke weight strokes, and they're going to be really hard for you to see. So for this demonstration, we changed our stroke weight to 0.25. If you'd like to do that for your file, it'll be a lot easier to navigate through your artwork. But before sending it to job control, you'll want to switch those back. So a quick way to select all your lines is to select the stroke line that you're wanting to change. Now we just converted our text into lines here. So for instance, if you had a line here and it's supposed to be a cut line of 0.001, you're not going to be able to see it. You'll want to keep this thicker so you can view it while you're working on your artwork. Before sending it to job control, you'll want to select every line that is this thick to change them into cut lines. You can select your line, come to this button right here, select similar objects, and before clicking, click on the drop-down menu. And you can click on the stroke weight. So now every stroke weight that is 0.5 points will be selected within your new document here, and you can then go ahead and switch them over to 0.001.
That's a great point. Yeah, you usually don't have these things with Corel Draw because you can see the hairline outline, but with Illustrator, you'll have to adjust accordingly. There's a couple of questions as well. If text is overlapping, how do you remove the inner cut lines? For example, when cutting out text, I need to be able to cut the outline of all the letters, but not cut inside the text I'm cutting out. However, there are cut lines within the letter.
So this is why we suggest using a stencil font here. So you'll see here, your inner geometries they'll stay intact because it's a special font to make sure that none of your inner geometries are going to be falling out here. So if you are trying to cut out your inner geometries, you can do so, but do note that your inner geometries will fall out unless you're gluing them onto a backboard or a backboard or maybe another base. Any more questions, Lev?
Well, we had one about relief mode and how to do relief mode. That's a little bit more complicated. We'll definitely get into that with more webinars. We'll do a 3D engraving webinar, and we'll show you guys how to do the relief mode, but it's a little too advanced for this webinar.
Exactly. If you want to play around with relief mode, you could generate a shape here, and if you click on gradient button down here, this will give you gradients. So you can play with your gradients, but we'll cover this, like Lev said, in a future video. So moving on. Let's move on to our shape tool here. So now that we've learned how to change the colors and the stroke weights, we'll move into the shape tool here. So you can select your shape tool, and just by clicking on your material once, you'll be prompted to select, for instance, if you're doing a square, you can make this square exactly 2 by 2 inches. Click OK, and now you have your dimensions for your new square there. If you wanted to do something more on the fly, you can select your tool here, click and drag, and make your shape to whatever your heart desires. So you see here, we just created our first shape. It is filled with black. If we were to print this right now, you will indeed get your laser to engrave this entire square here. If we came here and switched our swap and fill, nothing would happen here because it is all red. If we go back here, you'll see that our stroke is red here. If we were to print this in job control, our shape would be fully engraved, and then it would be cut out. Because you could see here that our stroke weight is 0.001 with the RGB red. If we were to increase the stroke weight, it's now more visible, but of course it will not be cut on the laser. Some other options you could do with the shape tool, by clicking on your shape and clicking on your fill down here, you could click on none, and now you'll just have the border of your shape. By clicking on the stroke at the bottom here, you can now change your stroke color to black and change your stroke weight to whatever you'd like. And if we were to send this to the job control program, now this border would be engraved, leaving the box empty. So another question that some of you were asking was how you can create some custom shapes. So there's a few ways that you can do this. We have our shape here. We do have a few more tools here that we've been using, our direct selection tool and our selection tool. If you click on your selection tool, it'll select the entire shape for you to move around and resize. If you click on your direct selection tool, you are now able to click on direct nodes. By selecting a node and dragging it around, you can now manipulate the shape of your object to create some pretty cool shapes. Now, if you wanted to get a little bit more advanced with your shapes, you can click on the shape tool, hold it, and select a new shape. By making a new shape over an existing shape, selecting your selection tool, and selecting both the shapes that are overlapping, you can now use your shape builder tool and drag to create new shapes, such as this. So we'll do that one more time for you guys. You'll want to lay down 2 or more shapes. Use your selection tool. Make sure that all of your shapes that you would want to combine or subtract are selected. Use your shape builder tool and select the objects you want to be merged. Now you have your new shape. So do we have any questions for that, Lev?
Anthony, yeah, I think for the text, I kind of think I understand what the question was about the outline. So if you're putting a text, not a stencil text, just a regular text, and you're trying to do like a outline for the laser cut, how do you? I'm assuming the question was, how do you get rid of the inner geometries? And I think the answer is to convert that text to a shape and break the curve apart, and then delete the inner cut. You know what I mean? So let's say if it's a Trotec engraving text and then you're trying to cut out just the shape of the text around without the inner cut, like on the E, for example. Okay. Yeah, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So we have our text here. You'll see right now it is still in text format. If you select your text and right-click it, you can create some outlines. And what that does is turn your text into stroke lines. You can see here now that each one of our letters will be its own stroke. So if you right-click again and press ungroup, it has broken all the lines into their own strokes. So now with our direct selection tool, we can come here and click on our line, and we can delete it.
Yeah, I think that's what the question was. I hope that answers it.
Yeah, if you wanted, you could change the color of the line here. And I hope that answers that question. Yeah,
I think it's for if you're engraving, for example, like a name tag, and you have a logo, and then you just want to cut around the outline. That's what I think. That's what they were asking for. We have another question. How do you do arrays of shape? How do you do arrays of shape if you want multiples? I'm not sure I understand that.
Oh, I think I know what they're trying to ask. Yeah, so if you have a shape or any object, really, you can use your selection tool. Here, let's switch this so you can see it. You use your selection tool here, and by holding Control and click and drag, oh, sorry, Alt, click and drag, you'll now copy that to wherever you want. I think this is what they're trying to say. So if you wanted to create an array, if that's what you're trying to say, you can select all of these, click and drag, and now you're copying. If this doesn't answer your question, just leave us an email and we'll get to you as soon as we can, or you can post it in a future video.
Yeah, we can always comment on in the description after we publish the video, but I think that's what they were asking.
Okay. So next, does anyone have any questions about shapes? Any more shape questions?
I don't see any right now, but yeah, if you guys need to, we'll go back to shapes after.
Okay, so I'll just show you real quick again. So right now we'll be engraving this black box around here with our shape and leaving the inside empty. If you wanted to cut this out, you can select your new shape, and just like we did before with the text and the first shapes, select RGB red and change your stroke weight to 0.001, and I'm cutting the shape out.
Anthony, actually, there is one question. Somebody's asking if you can show how to round corners, I guess, like on a square.
Oh, great question. Yeah, for sure. So if you select your square shape here, you can drop your shape. And now with your selection tool, you'll see these little dots in the corner here. You can select one or more if you hold the shift button. And you can drag these, and you can actually make corners now. So this is all customizable. You can see here as I'm dragging this, these numbers up here are changing. So this is actually, if you needed an exact corner, I know a lot of people used 0.25 here. We'll use 0.25 of an inch of a corner here. And now all your corners should change.
Perfect.
Okay, so next we'll move into our pen tool. Pen tool is great.
Oh, sorry, Anthony. Somebody just asked about the registration marks, but I think you're going to cover that in the webinar.
Oh yeah, we'll cover that right now in the shapes.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Yep. So to make registration marks, for those of you that don't know, all our lasers, there is an accessory to the vision camera system, and it will find registration marks that you make on your files. So it could find those registration marks and cut accordingly to your cut lines. So in order to do that, you'll need to make some registration marks, and those registration marks, they have to be 0.25 of an inch in size. So if we click once, we'll create our circle here, 0.25. Okay. And now we have our circle here. So all the registration marks have to be RGB black, including the stroke. And it's very important that the stroke is 0.001 of the stroke weight. If you do not have these two combinations, the vision camera system will not find your registration marks. So if you are having problems, most likely it is the color of your registration mark, the size, and the stroke of your registration mark. So once you have your registration mark here, using your copy command, we said it was Alt, hold Alt, click and drag, and now you're copying. You're going to want to have at least 2 registration marks. The more registration marks you have, the better. We like to use at least 2, or sorry, at least 4.
Yeah, and we have lots of videos on the vision camera system. It's usually you set it to the first dot at the top left, and then the camera system just follows and finds the other registration marks and starts cutting. So we have a lot of information on that as well, but that's basically how to do the registration marks.
So for instance, if our material here that is 12 by 24 was an odd shape, maybe it wasn't a perfect square, you can lay some registration marks here. Now the camera, once you put your odd shape material into the laser, the camera will find those registration marks and cut up on those cut lines, no matter what direction no matter what orientation your cut lines may be in. So even if they're moving around organic shape, you should still be able to cut exactly where you need to be able to cut.
Yeah, somebody just commented you only need to do the stroke for the registration marks. No, that's not exactly correct. You need to have the black RGB fill and the stroke for the camera system to recognize it.
Okay, we'll move on here. So next, we'll show you a great tool is the pen tool. Come over to your tool options here, click on your pen tool, and if you click on any 2 points on your material, you'll start to create a line. So these lines, obviously, you can make cut lines, or if you continue to click, you'll continue your line. And if you close this line, Illustrator will automatically close it for you and create a fill and stroke for you. So again, if you wanted to make some custom shapes, this is a great way to do it. Again, you just click, 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 close the shape, and now you have a new shape with a automatically generated stroke and fill. And again, if you use your selection tool, you can come here and change this up, just like we did with our shapes and our text. If you use your direct selection tool, you can now click on your new shape, click on a node, and manipulate it to make more of a custom shape. Again, you could click on the rounded corner icon, drag, and you're making your corner rounded now. Again, if you have multiple corners, you can select multiple corners by holding Shift and selecting them. And at the top here in your control panel, you could click Convert Selected Anchor Points to Smooth, and that'll make your anchor point smooth. You'll notice now your anchor points have these things called handles. By stretching these, you could change the shape of the curve and the direction in which it's going to go. So with the pen tool, if you wanted to, you can make an underline. If you wanted to engrave and underline something, let's make a line here. You could change your stroke weight to a thicker stroke weight, and making sure that you're using RGB black. You'll now have an underline underneath your text. Are there any questions with the pen tool?
Not for the pen tool. We do have a question. We'd love to see how to measure and make things specific dimensions. So if they want to make a box that's 5 inches by 4 inches, how do I use the guides and rulers to draw that? Or place something on the sheet that is 0.25 inches from the edge of the material I'm cutting?
Oh, that's a great question. So rulers are a very, very helpful tool. An easy way to find your rulers is to hold Control and press R, and that'll bring up your rulers here top of the pages. If you click if you right click on this, you can change your ruler to be whatever measurement that you'd like it. I like to use inches. And another way to select this, you can just click on View and click on your guides here, or you can use your rulers, which are right here. So you can hide and show your rulers here. If you want to make a specific box, like we said, just click once, and you'll be prompted to select the exact size of your box that you'd like. Now you have your box. And if you need this box to be positioned in an exact position, you can click. So there's a few options here to align to your artboard, or you could come here to your property side of your Illustrator. And so this box here these are your coordinates here, and depending on what box you click here, so right now these coordinates are in relation to the center of this box. If I were to click the top corner here, these coordinates are now in the relation to the corner of the box here. And as you click around, it would be the same here. So from here you can change the angle of your box if need be to, and the size of it. So if you wanted your box to be in the top corner here, you can just select 0, and now your box will be in the top corner in relation to your top corner box. Was that all the questions for the shapes, Lev?
We actually got one more. Somebody's asking if you can draw a stroke. It has flat, sharp ends. You can add rounded ends by clicking the stroke menu.
Yeah, so what they're mentioning, with your pen tool here, you can draw a pen like we just said. Sorry, a line. Change our stroke right here. So you can see here that our strokes come to a sharp, hard end here. If you'd like to switch this, it is configurable. You'll just go to your properties here. All right, so click right beside your stroke weight. There is an option, just like for our text, there's an option for the stroke. Here you can see there are many different options here. If you'd like a rounded cap, just click on the rounded cap option. And now you can see that our line has changed to a rounded cap. So hopefully that answered that question.
Yeah, perfect.
Perfect. Okay, so using these basic techniques that we just showed you, the pen tool, our direct selection tool, our selection tool, our shape tool, and shape builder, along with our managers, like our swap fill and our stroke, you can make some pretty simple but creative and useful stuff that can get you started with your laser. So for this, we have created a pretty basic file for you guys. So using the techniques that we just showed you, we created this simple document here, and you can see that there are a few different colors here that we never mentioned. So what will happen with this file when we send it to job control, it is going to cut our red cut lines here. It's going to engrave our border, our text, and our underline. And then we have these blue lines here. With the blue lines, we have assigned new colors to these strokes, and it's for our kiss cuts. What a kiss cut is for is it acts like a cut line, but we use a very low power, and this will be to mark where we are going to place new shapes. So for this file, we're going to be cutting out this star, which will actually be cut out twice, and the cutouts will actually be placed onto our kiss cuts here. But these are just guides, and we'll show you how. Yep.
Oh yeah, no, sorry. Yeah, what usually ends up happening before is, you want the outline around the object to be the last one you cut, and you want the kiss cuts to go first. So in our sort of standard job control color settings, it goes black, red, blue, and so on. So you want the red to be last. And Anthony, can you actually show how to switch the position of the colors as well?
Yeah, for sure. So what Lev is mentioning is when this is getting cut out, you want your inner geometries to be cut out first, and you definitely want your blues to be marked on your material before any cuts are made. The reason why is if you were to cut this out, your material may not be perfectly flat, and this base here might drop down a little bit. When that drop happens, you now might be in a new position. For jobs that need that are highly precise, this is a huge factor. So you're going to want to cut out your inner geometries first. We'll show you how to do that when printing, but before doing that, we'll show you with your colors. With your colors, you're going to want to cut out. You're going to want to engrave your blue lines first, for that exact reason that we just mentioned.
Sorry, you mean cut out like the kiss cut, the blue lines first.
So we're going to be kiss cutting these lines first, and then cutting our base out afterwards, so our base doesn't fall and our kiss cuts fall onto a place that they're not supposed to. Hopefully.
And yeah, and I should also mention the same thing for engraving. I mean, if you guys are new to lasers, you always want to engrave first before you cut. So the same thing, our color is black, but for example, if it was yellow, which is the last on the standard job control colors outline you see there, you can switch the positioning of the colors for yellow to go first, for example.
Exactly. I'll try to explain this really quick here. So we have our file here. It's on our working area here, and we want our blues to be cut before our reds. So if we go to our material settings here, you can see that our blues are actually going to be cut after red. So how to change this is come to your settings, go to your color ordering, and make your color order changeable. Now with that selected, you're able to drag your colors into any sequence you'd like. So for us, as we mentioned, we'll move our blue to the second position, so our blues are getting kiss cut before our cuts are actually happening. So we'll go back to Illustrator here. Now that you've created your first document with the basic tools that we just showed you, you can continue on to print to send to your laser. To do this, select File, go to Print, and wait for your print options to load. So you're going to want to go to your setup here, and make sure that your Trotec engraver is selected. Once it's selected, you could click on the preferences here to bring up the Trotec Job Control Preference menu. From here, you'll want to select your material size. For us, we're using a 24 by 12 sheet of wood. We'll set that in place. Next, you'll go to your material settings, and you're going to want to click on Process Mode. It's very important that if you're going to be using colored lines, that you select Standard, and make sure that the color option in halftone is selected. If this is not selected, and for instance it's in black or white or ordered dithered, it'll only read your black lines and skip on your colored lines. Here we have our inner geometries checkbox. If you click this, the laser will calculate your vectors and do its best job at cutting out the inner geometries first before cutting out your outer geometries. Again, you can configure this if you wanted your inner geometries to be cut out first and Job Control was not figuring this out for you. You can change this T and these stars to a different color line, and in Job Control, move your different color into position to be cut first or last.
Anthony, just a quick thing. Can you go back to, oh yeah, right where you are there. If you click on the color in the halftone option, most of you, if you're just starting on the laser, because this is the basics tutorial, it might be order dithering, which is just the black and the red, which is the standard. So if you're introducing a new color for kiss cutting or for whatever reason, and if you forget to change that to color, that's where 99% of the problems happen. When you send it to the laser and you don't see the cut line, it's because it's not set in color in that halftone option.
Yeah, this is very important. Most of the time when people are trying to send jobs to job control and they're not showing up, this is typically the reason why.
We do have one question. When sending a job to the laser, I have to go into media size and change the setting every time to user-defined paper. Is there a way to make this setting a default?
We will be covering how to change your default settings in Illustrator in a future video, and we'll show you how to select the default settings for your RGB modes and what you just mentioned as well.
Perfect, thanks.
So we'll go back in there.
Somebody just asked, is kiss cut and engraving the same thing? No, because engraving, essentially, if you go into job control, Anthony, and then go into the colors. So when you're putting the setting, if you click on the black engrave, yeah, see how you only have engrave, cut, skip positioning. Positioning is for the vision camera system, but, or sorry, it'll have reg marks if you're using the vision camera system, but essentially you have engrave and cut options. So kiss cutting, it will be under cutting. If you want to click on the cut, so we'll just show you the difference. So let's say the blue we want to kiss cut, it'll be a power of maybe 15 or 10, and it'll be a speed of like 3 or 2. And then for the full cut, let's say our red is the full cut, it'll be 100% power, and let's say 0.6 for speed if you're using, let's say, a 3mm piece of wood or acrylic. So that's really the difference between the kiss cut and the full cut. And the engrave, it's a whole different settings. It won't use the vector outline, it'll just do the RGB fill, as opposed to a kiss cut where it'll be the vector outline, hairline.
Yeah, so our kiss cuts are just a hard cut. So you can use that for marking where you want to place objects in the future.
Yes, the same person asked, what would be the use of a kiss cut? So kiss cuts are great if you're using multiple layers. Let's say if you're making a sign and you have your overall shape of the sign, let's say it's a circle, but you don't know exactly where to put the letters on top. So you would do a small kiss cut on that main layer, and then you'll do a full cut with a different color, and then you'll basically know exactly where to position the letters. We have lots and lots of videos on kiss cutting, and I'll put some in the description below after we're done.
Yep.
Somebody asked when will be the next webinar. Well, we hope to have an industrial webinar in a couple of weeks, and we definitely want to do these Illustrator and design webinars more often. So hopefully next month we'll have another one more advanced.
Yeah, guys, we love doing this. So any questions you have, just email them directly to me or Lev, and we'll address them in a future video for sure.
Yeah, and if you don't have our emails, just leave it in the description below, and we'll answer in the description of the video on the YouTube channel.
Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, we're not done yet, though. I think, right, Anthony? We still got some stuff.
A little bit to go.
Okay.
So we're still at our printing options here. Once you've selected your material, make sure that your halftone selection is a color option here, and you selected your inner geometries first. You're pretty much good to go. There's some other things here to mention for enhanced geometries here. That's a selection. You might want to cut that if you're doing something that has many small cuts. That'll help the laser read those fine cuts at a higher precision. So once everything's selected here, just click on your job control button here, and it'll load that to Illustrator. So now you can see here our media size. This is what that last person was mentioning here. You're going to want to go right down to the bottom here and select user-defined paper. And what that does is it uses the reference that we just used in our preferences in the last page there. We selected our material size, and that is selecting our material size. So you can see down here, the actual object that we created is 3.58 inches by 2.08 inches, and the media is 24 by 12 inches. So that was set by our preference box right here. So this is your material size. This will have to be selected every time you create a new job with a different material size. It's good to just double check this depending on what you're trying to do. So with that, you'll get a preview here, and if it looks good to you, you can select print. So our job just got sent to job control, and all of your jobs will pop up in our job menu here. So if you have multiple jobs, they'll all be loaded here and saved, so you can just click on a job that you've done in the past, maybe drag it onto your working area, and you can go and engrave and cut your job with the same settings as before. So you don't have to play around with your laser. Once your job is set, it's good to go for life. So our new file is sent to our job menu here. We can double click it and it'll get sent to our corner here, or we can drag it onto the working area here to wherever we'd like. So you can see here, this is our job that we're going to be cutting out and engraving, but there are these marks here in the corner. This is our material size. For some of you, this might cause some problems, especially if you have a smaller laser. For instance, this is a little small, but if you did have
Yeah, if you're doing the full sheet, like if it's a 12 by 24 and you're sending the entire 12 by 24 sheet to job control, and let's say your artwork is in the top left corner, you're not going to be able to, to move it down to the bottom right, for example.
Yeah, I'm just trying to show exactly what Lev just explained, guys. So when you're printing here, there we go.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, guys, just a little bit of loading time there. So your new job will show up here in your job menu here. So when you drag it on there, still no.
It's gonna take more time.
We'll use this for an example. You can see here, we have these little marks here. This is to mark the edge of your material. So this could cause some problems. If you had material maybe that was 12 by 24 inches. 12 by 24 inches here. For people with the smaller lasers, you might have a difficult time moving your job around here. And the reason why is you might want to have this job placed in the corner of your material or your working area here, because your material is placed in the corner of your laser. That's just not going to be possible because it is taking into account your material size here. So you just can't move it over into that corner. So to get around this, you'll want to print just your selected object here. To do that, go back to Illustrator, File, Print.
Do you have to select the job first?
No, you don't have to select the job first.
Oh, okay.
And in your printing options here, you would do everything the same. You would just make sure that you're clicking on Ignore Artboards. So what that does is it allows the printer to ignore the artboard, which is our material size. So it'll only send over the document that's within that artboard. So right now we just sent over just our file here. Now, for instance, if you wanted to print something specific, for instance, if you only wanted to send over the star and only the star and nothing else from this document, you can do that. So select your star, click on your layers at the bottom here, and this will pull up all the paths that you've created in this new thing, in this new document. So your path is highlighted here. So what we're going to do is, now that our path is highlighted, go to Edit and Copy, and create yourself a new layer. So what we'll do now is go to our first layer here that has our first document that we created, and just hide that layer. Go back to your second layer, edit, and paste in place. Now your star is in the exact place that we copied it from on a new layer. Now you can go to File, Print,
And while we're waiting for it to print, if you guys have any ideas or requests for more advanced videos in the future, either Illustrator, Adobe, we're going to try and make some 3D webinars, maybe Rhino and SolidWorks. Please leave them in the description below, and it'll give us some ideas for more webinars.
Yeah, that'd be great. So now that we're in the print menu here, if you ignore Artboards, you'll send that star over to job control, and it'll only be the star. If this is unselected, you'll be sending the star with the material size behind it. So we'll send this here. And now we have our star here. So now that we have our job and we know how to select from our job certain files that we'd want to select, you guys should be ready to go to start creating new custom files. With these basic techniques and using Illustrator, you should be able to create many cool things such as we did here. Obviously, creativity is a factor here. If you're doing things like nameplates, it's as simple as clicking on your text and typing in what you want on the nameplate on an artboard that's the same size as your nameplate. But of course, you can take this to any level that you really want, using the shapes, the pens, the texts, and all the tools that we covered today. So, Lev, did you have anything else that you wanted to cover here?
No, we just had a couple of requests for future videos. Export drawings from Illustrator to SolidWorks at 100% scale. And somebody else said they made a template to engrave multiple items with the serial number. A video to cover that would be excellent. So we'll definitely keep that in mind. Anthony, do we have anything else?
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much it for this video, yeah.
Okay, do you want to unshare your screen for a second?
Yeah, I just wanted to go over some just the important things to note before you get started. Just make sure that all of your colors must be RGB colors. That's one of the biggest things you have to remember. So make sure that your document color mode is set into RGB, and the colors in that document are also set to RGB colors. Use a stroke weight of 0.001 to make any cuts. If they're not 0.001, your laser will not register your cut lines. Make sure you do your outside cuts last, and so to do that, select your inner geometries so those inner geometries get cut first. And if you ever make any mistakes, just like most programs, Control+Z is going to be your best friend. So just remember, if you make a mistake, Control+Z will take you back. And that's pretty much it for today, guys.
Sorry, I was muted. Okay, perfect. So again, guys, there's lots and lots of videos on YouTube on Illustrator and designing in Illustrator. This particular webinar was how to use Illustrator, or the basics of Adobe Illustrator, and how it incorporates with the Trotec laser. So we'll definitely have more, a lot more webinars like these and others. So stay tuned for the industrial webinar. In a couple of weeks, we'll have another Illustrator and Corel Draw in the future. Anthony, anything else to sign off?
No, that's great. Thanks again for everyone that tuned in. We'll hopefully do a lot more of these, and they'll get better and better as we go. So keep tuning in, guys, and send us your questions.
Perfect. Okay, thanks, guys. Have a great day. Thanks, Anthony. All right, take care, guys.